All right, hey guys, welcome back. I'm joined with Nick. How was your flight?
It was good.
We're
Enjoyed
safe.
going home for the weekend. Hurricane season, but we're back and ready to talk about some football.
And now that you're back down here, they have bad weather from Jose up there.
I guess it's just wherever I go, man. Right when I moved to Florida, whatever the first one, and then now that one.
So we're gonna dive into week 3. Pretty much same format as last week. We'll discuss certain players, aspects, what we project. So Nick, do you want to take the first game? I'll give you.
I will.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Sure thing. You got the Rams at San Fran.
Okay, Thursday night game. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are buying into the hype of the Rams this season. I mean, they haven't really shown me anything. They blew out my Colts by like 40, but we were playing with a CFL roster, so I'm not seeing anything. San Fran almost beat Seattle last week, which was a very good game. And, yeah, I don't know. The Rams are actually favored by 2 points in this game, but I'm going with San Fran. I like what Kyle Shanahan's doing there, and I think they'll just get this win this week.
I agree. I like what the Rams are doing long term, but at San Fran, and they just played potentially the best game of their season, but Shanahan's definitely got something going there. They really could have beat Seattle last week. I thought they were in it right to the end.
Their defense is pretty good.
Yeah. So I have San Fran as well in this one. Expecting a big game from Hyde?
I'm not, because the Rams, even though I don't think they're perfect, they do have a good rushing defense, especially with Aaron Donald there. So he's been good the first 2 weeks, but I think he slows down this week, and they shut him down.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty accurate, but he has been catching passes, so that might, be worth an RB2 consideration. The matchup's not great, but if he catches 3 or 4 out the back in PPR scoring, that could make up the difference. The next game is Baltimore at Jacksonville, and I'm sorry, Jacksonville. I vouched for you last week, and you got smacked up by the Titans. So I'm going with Baltimore. They really haven't shown me that much through the air, but the emergence of Buck Allen has looked pretty consistent and real, and they have a really good defense. So I think Baltimore's just the better team, and I have no faith in Bortles. So I think Allen Hurns will probably have a big game since Robinson's gone, but I think Baltimore's going to win pretty convincingly, probably 21-13. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be a close game. I actually have the Jags winning. I think their defense is for real, even though the divisional. I think it'll definitely be a low-scoring game, 17-10, 10-7, something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the Jags are finally looking okay, actually, with that defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have them winning. But, yeah, again, it could go either way. It's a close game. I don't think it's any team favored by that much.
Mm-hmm. Up next, you have Denver at Buffalo.
Ooh, I picked this game in my suicide pool.
Yeah.
I think Denver can blow them out.
Mm-hmm.
I like Denver this year. They're good. Trevor Siemian's not looking bad, actually. He's showing all those Paxton Lynch lovers in Denver that he wants to say, but I like their defense and their offense. C.J. Anderson, look at him this year. He's doing pretty big things. So, yeah, I have Denver winning. I don't think it'll be that close. I'm hoping for a blowout.
I agreed with you, as did Callahan. I think we have a sweep for Denver winning, so that's a good pick for the Eliminator Challenge. And Siemian does seem to be a viable option for if you're someone who drafted either Andrew Luck, who's not coming back anytime in the foreseeable future. Sorry to say that, Nick. Or Andy Dalton, who that offense is just a mess. If you drafted Carson Palmer, who his age is showing, he really is not his old self. If you drafted one of these quarterbacks that's not panning out, I think Siemian definitely could be a good option, and he's probably still available unless someone scooped him up this past waiver transaction. But if you need quarterback, it's a decent play. Do you think Sanders, Demaryius, or both of them have a big game?
Yeah, I think both of them could. I feel like usually both of them don't go off just because it's not that pass heavy of an offense. But I think if it shifted towards one, I'd probably go with Thomas. I just feel he's the better receiver, and I've always liked him more. But yeah, I think it's either or. I think it could happen with either one. Kind of like a Crabtree, Amari Cooper situation where it's kind of one of them each week and the other one gets left out.
So if you have either of them, you're playing them.
Yes.
All right, up next, Pittsburgh at Chicago. And as a Jordan Howard owner, let me ask you, do you think he's going to play? And if so, do you think he'll be limited?
I don't know. They're not saying much about this situation. If the reason he didn't get much productivity last week was because of the injury or Tariq Cohen. He got more rushes than Tariq Cohen last week, actually, but he got much less targets in the passing game. So I'm kind of skeptical of this whole situation. I'm still starting him in all my leagues because he's the best option I got. But, yeah, there's no certainty with him.
Yeah, as a Tariq Cohen owner in 2 of my leagues, I'm not starting him yet. I think it's still Howard's job. If he does play and is healthy and productive this week, I think he'll significantly outsnap Tariq Cohen. So I'm just going to wait another week or 2 before I feel comfortable playing him, just because I think it is Howard's job. And, if his shoulder holds up and he's producing, I don't see them taking him out. I do think Pittsburgh is going to steamroll Chicago, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's much arguing with that. Who's home in this game, actually?
It's at Chicago.
It doesn't really change anything. Steelers are going to still smack them, but, yeah,
you're
there's a
starting
difference.
pretty much. You're starting everyone except look out for Jesse James. I don't think he practiced today, so just keep an eye on that. But if you have Le'Veon Bell, who hasn't performed up to expectations yet, but he will.
Comeback game, though, for him.
Yeah. I feel like you have to start pretty much any of them, unless you have a better option than Big Ben at quarterback. But if you have Brown, Martavis, or Le'Veon Bell, start them and just monitor Jesse. The next game on the schedule is Atlanta at Detroit.
Yeah, I have Atlanta in this game. They're kind of giving me mixed signals this year. They're ranked as a top 5 team, but they barely beat the Bears week 1, and that's only because Jordan Howard dropped a touchdown in the end zone. And then last week, they steamrolled the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So I'm still taking Atlanta. I think they're just a better team than Detroit, but I'm not too sure of my opinion on them yet this year.
I saw the Giants struggle against Detroit, and I know that was more an issue with our line than it was Detroit being a really good team. The Giants have some things to figure out, so I'm not sold on the Detroit hype yet. And Atlanta, although it was a very subject and skeptical week 1, they went to the Super Bowl last year. Freeman and Julio are still getting theirs. I just think they're the better team, mostly because I'm not sold on Detroit. So I'm thinking Atlanta's going to win this one. But if Detroit wins again, they might have something there. Next is, I'll give this to you if you want it. It's your Colts against Cleveland at home, though.
I mean, I'm going to Colts again. We're playing the Cleveland Browns. We better win. I don't know if this is kind of our last chance for the season. Obviously, I'm just going to say Andrew Luck's the most valuable player in the league. You can see it. He brought this team, actually, he probably brought a worse roster than this team to an AFC championship. And then without him, we lose by 40 points to the Rams and lose to the Cardinals, a game we should have won, actually. But I think Jacoby Brissett does enough this game to get us a win if he manages it okay. Our rushing defense actually isn't bad. We're averaging the 2nd least yards per rush this season so far. So that's definitely improved, and I feel like I don't think we're going to blow out the Browns, but I think we will beat them.
I think you're right, and pressuring a rookie quarterback, he'll potentially make a few mistakes there. So I agree. I think your Colts will end up winning. Just to speed things along, up next is Tampa at Minnesota, and it depends entirely for me on if Bradford plays. I think Tampa will win pretty single-handedly if Bradford doesn't play. But Minnesota looked like a complete football team week one. Xavier Rhodes shutting people down. Thielen and Diggs both look healthy and both looked good. So if Bradford plays, I think Minnesota is going to win. If not, I think Tampa. So until we have more clarity, I think I'm going to lean towards Tampa.
Yeah. I have Tampa winning either way, but I do think it'll be a really close game if Bradford plays.
Mm-hmm. Nick, are you there?
Chance.
The
can
whole
you hear me?
The whole thing froze there for a second.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I think Jameis and the Bucs looked awesome week one, and I have them winning this game. There's not too much to it.
All right, so we agree on Tampa there. Next, we have Houston at New England. I think Pats.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think it's there.
Obvious, yeah. Patriots.
Anything you want to say on either of these teams?
Deshaun Watson had his first NFL start last week. He looked okay. He had that nice run for 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't show too much, but he's a good game manager. He'll do pretty good in that offense, and still not enough to beat the New England Patriots though.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just for Lamar Miller owners, any concern there?
I've never been a fan of Lamar Miller, not when he's with the Dolphins or anyone. I don't think he's a bad back. I think he's an average back. But
do you think Foreman's going to eventually split carries with him? Hard to say.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because he hasn't shown too much either. Maybe next year, even at the end of the season. For now, it's Miller's job.
Mm-hmm.
And this New England defense has looked awful the last 2 weeks, so he could actually have a pretty big game this week, though.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the question, just one of the many running back questions a lot of people are asking themselves, do you think Gillislee is the best back New England has? Do you think it's Burkhead? Does it depend PPR versus non?
I don't like. They all do their own thing. They're all good, but it's hit or miss every week. You got a 25% chance to pick the right one. That's why I never draft them.
Yeah, there's no clarity there. You know, Belichick's gonna get you every time.
Yeah.
All right, next is Miami at the Jets. I guess I'll take this one. I think Miami's gonna win, just because the Jets they get Safarian Jenkins back, but supposedly he was out of shape. If you were planning on playing him, I personally wouldn't his first week back, if he does play at all this week. But for the Jets, Jermaine Kearse looked pretty good last week, so I think if you have him against Miami at home, to keep pace, he's going to get a lot of targets. I think I'd roll the dice with him if you don't have any other options. But I don't think the Jets win this game. I think Jay Ajayi will probably go for over 100 yards. And Miami Cutler showed me a lot more chemistry with Jarvis Landry than I expected.
It's good.
So if they're playing conservative ball and dinking and dunking, I don't really see the Jets doing much in this game on defense either to keep them in it. So I go Miami. What do you think?
I agree. Let me just ask you this. Do you think 0-16 is a possibility for the New York Jets?
I don't think so, just because you almost have to actively try to be that bad. I've seen them tear each other apart with the rest of their division So I could see them beating Buffalo at some point during the
Yeah.
season, just because division games tend to be a crapshoot. They're hard to predict, and they usually go back and forth. And even if not them, to just lose out in a season, I, I would bet on it with Vegas just because there is a chance it happens, and that would be the, I guess, higher reward play. Bet on the Jets losing out. But I don't think so. I think they possibly win too.
Okay.
So I think I had them at 4 when we did our initial projections,
Yeah.
but they don't look good at all. So I'm going to say 2. What about you? You think they get swept?
Nah, I think they'll get 1, maybe even 2,
Mhm.
just because at the end of the season, playoff teams, they don't care anymore.
For what
It's
it's
kind
worth,
of obvious, so.
for what it's worth, a few of my friends who are Jets fans, they're eyeing the quarterbacks in this upcoming draft class already.
Good, they
So-
got a lot of.
I think that's what they want. So,
Neat.
the next game, I'll let you take this. We're gonna stick with New York teams. My Giants at Philly. Go for it. Feed
You want
into
me
it.
to? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this game. Kind of depends how Odell is looking.
Mhm.
He obviously played last week, but he was farthest thing from 100% you can be.
Mhm.
It was obvious he was out there for a distraction. Maybe another week does him good. I have the Eagles winning, but I bet on the Giants, so I hope they win.
Mhm.
But I think the Eagles have looked awesome so far. They look like a good balanced team. Carson Wentz has played awesome. Their D-line and O-line have looked good. So, yeah, I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning this game.
It pains me to say this. It really does. But until the Giants fix their O-line problems, Odell has to get healthy,
Yeah.
and Janoris Jenkins has to get healthy. Until those 3 things happen, we just look like a really dysfunctional unit right now.
And that was shown what was it, Monday night? Yeah, Monday night
Yeah.
when Eli got sacked, what, 5-6 times?
Five times, 3 because of Flowers.
Eric Flowers,
Bobby
that was
Hart is
awful.
still hurt. Like, a lot of things have to change in the next week or two. So I think if Philly had a weakness to their game, it's that they can't really run the ball. But they're a lot more functional than the Giants right now. And I think you're right. I think Philly's going to win, unfortunately. So let's move on because now I'm upset. We have the Saints at Carolina.
I have Carolina winning. I don't think they looked that good last week,
Mm-hmm.
and the Saints are obviously 0-2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't really tell you if this is going to be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game because I'm still torn because Carolina's got a good defense, but you know Drew Brees is always a gunslinger, so he'll always put up those high-scoring games.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Carolina is the more balanced team. They have a good offense and a good defense. Saints still have that atrocious defense, but they have a good offense. So I'm just going to go with Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey on this one, just because they're more balanced. I think both of them have a big game, though, as most tend to do against the New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm. I think Carolina's going to win as well. The Saints' defense is just not there. It's atrocious. So I think Carolina wins as well. One question for you before we move on, though. If you're a Willie Snead owner and you've been hanging on to him, where do you see his production when he does come back? I believe, next week?
Yeah, I think they said next week. I think he'll be a good flex play if you own him. He'll get you touchdowns occasionally, but he's another guy who's kind of hit or miss. You know, he doesn't put up consistent numbers every week, but if you're in need of him, I'd still just keep him on your bench and hope the week you start him, he comes through.
That's a good assessment of it. Yeah, if he jumps into the number 2 spot like he was projected at the beginning of the season, you're going to be keeping him around all year, but if you're worried about Kobe Fleener or someone else eating into those targets, Ted Ginn, just sort of wait and see. Don't drop him because of his suspension. Hang on and wait and see how that works itself out. Next is Seattle at Tennessee, and I'm going to go with the Titans. For as good as the 49ers played, I expected more out of Seattle this past week. And I think Tennessee's defense is legit. I'm waiting for their receivers to do a bit more, but I think they're another well-balanced team at home. So I'm going to go with Mariota. And the Titans, I think, they're going to have to grind it out for yards, but I think it's going to be a very run-heavy game. And it's going to come down to who controls the ball more, and I think that's going to be Tennessee. So
That's what it comes to on possession. Just whoever gets the best scoring, but I think it's going to be back and forth, and we'll have to find out.
Do you feel comfortable starting Carson for Seattle after what you saw last week?
I don't. I feel
Not yet.
Is Rawls healthy yet or no?
Rawls played last week, but he only got, I believe, 16 snaps.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was due to health or due to just Carson doing good, but I'm not yet. They always like the running back by committee ever since Marshawn left. So I'm going to give it maybe 2, maybe 3 more weeks just to see if he keeps it up, and then I'll start him.
And do you think Tennessee wins the game, or?
No, I actually think Seattle wins, but
Seattle? Okay.
it could go either way. I just think Seattle has an awesome D-line. They're going against a good O-line, though, but maybe they shut him down. And I'm thinking Russell Wilson could have a pretty big game because he hasn't done too much this year yet.
Neither is Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
All right, next is the Bengals at Green Bay. And where are you going?
I'm riding with Aaron Rodgers. Cincinnati's kind of just looked awful this year. They don't have a touchdown yet, right? In 2 games?
2 games, no touchdowns.
That's crazy with all the weapons they got on offense, too. But they're not amounting to anything. A.J. Green has not done too much. But when they throw it to him, you saw last week, he had, 3 catches? One of them was like a 50-yard bomb. He had 4 guys covering him, and he caught it. So I don't know why they can't do that every play.
He's been calling for the ball more now, too. So hopefully.
I think Rodgers is mad that they got blown out last week against the Falcons. And I think are they home? It's in Lambeau, too, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers doesn't Lambeau, so I'm riding with Aaron.
Do you think the injuries of Jordy and Cobb affects the, overall production of this offense? It looks like Cobb's probably going to play, I'd say.
Yeah, Jordy more than Cobb. I don't think he has too much, but Devontae Adams the last week and even last year just has looked awesome. So I think with Jordy out, it doesn't do too much just because he can kind of slide into that role, and Aaron Rodgers gets guys open. It doesn't matter. You could be anybody and he'll find you. So.
Yep. All right. So next, Kansas City against my brother's L.A. Chargers, and I'll give this to you.
All right. Yeah. I'm riding with Kansas City. The Chargers have played 2 tough games this year, similar to last year. They seem to choke in the last 2 minutes, but Kansas City has looked awesome. Maybe I'm not ready to call them the best team in football yet. I still give that to the Patriots. I just think they had a bad week 1, but Kansas City, I put them top 2, top 3, and I think they look really balanced too. Their defense has looked awesome, and their offense, Kareem Hunt, where did this guy come from? Tyreek Hill, so I'm taking Kansas City.
I think Kansas City wins the game, but for the season, the loss of Eric Berry is a big hit to their defense.
Yeah.
So I think they win the game. They do look pretty well-rounded. You want to get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands as much as possible. Travis Kelce is probably the best tight end in football right now. A lot of top tight ends got hurt last week. If you have Greg Olsen, I sympathize with you, and I also sympathize with myself because he's usually pretty durable. But they have options on offense, and I think they do still have a top 10, top 12 defense even without Eric Berry. So I'm going to go with Kansas City as well, and I guess I'll take this next one. It's Oakland at Washington, and Oakland's going to win this. Other than Josh Norman, Washington's defense is pretty terrible, and I think Oakland might potentially have the most unstoppable offense in the NFL.
Yeah, they got a very good balanced team. Their defense looks spotty at times, but still got the defensive MVP. And then the offense, yeah, they might have. Actually, I'm not ready. I still say Dallas has the best line, but I think the Raiders definitely have the second best line in the league.
Simile is the real deal. He's pushing for Oakland this year.
Yeah.
No, I think best O-line is probably still Dallas as well, but Oakland's in the top 3, I'd say, and it's showing. You're giving Derek Carr time with 2 of the best receivers in football at his disposal, Marshawn Lynch running behind him. It's just they can hit you from any angle. And the last game to you is Monday night, Dallas at Arizona.
Yeah, Dallas did not look like Dallas last week. Ezekiel Elliott had 9 rushes for 8 yards or some crazy number like that, and they just did not look good. Dak Prescott did not look comfortable all night. He was facing constant pressure, but they're still Dallas. I think the Cardinals almost lost to the Colts last week. I still think you got to give the game to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'd agree. Arizona just looks lost. Carson Palmer looks done. Any concern if you're a Zeke owner?
I'm not. I think it was just a product of he was bound to have a bad game at some point. He had 15 games last year without any bad ones, and this might have been the best defense he's faced yet, besides Giants, arguably.
And Denver planned for this. I'm pretty sure they stacked the box most of the game.
Yeah.
They pre-scripted shutting Zeke down, and to their credit, they did it. So, anything else you wanted to touch on? I know you have a concert to go to. Nick's living it up. I'm just living through him. So, any specific players, committees you want to discuss?
Let's see, specific players. Oh, my boy Jack Doyle. Going back to that tight end injury thing, if you're looking for a tight end, pick up Jack Doyle. I'm telling you, all the coaches are raving about him. He had 80 yards last week in an offense that is not looking too good. They seem to be going to him a lot more than T.Y. Hilton or Dante Moncrief. So if you're looking for a tight end to pick up, maybe he's on your waiver wire, or maybe you make a trade to someone's bench and for him.
I think if I had a tip, if you're a Jet owner, everyone's saying I've seen, is it our league? Someone drop below Powell.
It might be.
In one of my 3 leagues, someone dropped below Powell, and it looks like a handful of people are doing that. He gets better as the season goes on. He consistently has done this for 2 or 3 years. Being someone that lives in New York, I'm a Giants fan, but I watch a handful of Jet games every year. If someone in your league goes and drops below Powell, you stash him. Because by the middle of the season, when Matt Forte starts breaking down a little and Bilal Powell hits his stride, you're going to be glad you did. If someone dropped Bilal Powell, go out and grab him. That's one thing I'd suggest.
A good tip.
And other than that, good luck setting your lineup, guys. Nick, enjoy your concert.
Thank you.
And I'll get the Week 3 predictions up on the site in the next 24 hours before kickoff. Later.
All right, cool. Catch you later, cuz.
Peace.